They swore to serve and protect, but instead of upholding the law, they used their badges as cover for crimes that destroyed lives. One officer planted drugs, another lied to get a search warrant that ended in death. One used his position to exploit children. In this series, we examine real cases where officers crossed the line and justice ultimately caught up, sometimes too late. These are the true stories of America's most corrupt cops.
Obviously located a firearm. One in the chamber loaded, obviously. It's like a 9mm. Oh, just some syringes. How long have you been using?
I don't feel comfortable talking anymore.
You don't talk anymore?
On January 28, 2019, 4 Houston police officers burst into a home on Harding Street. They were carrying a no-knock warrant, ready for what they claimed was a high-risk drug raid. Inside were Regina Nicholas and Dennis Tuttle, a couple with no criminal history. Moments later, both of them were dead, shot multiple times by officers who believed they were entering a drug house.
This was a coordinated operation at 15 addresses in Liverpool and 4 other towns involving 120 officers.
The entire raid was based on a lie. Officer Gerald Goins, a 34-year-old veteran of the Narcotics Division, had claimed a confidential informant purchased heroin from the house. That wasn't true. There was no informant and no drugs were ever found at the home. Goins fabricated the entire thing to justify the raid.
Lied to obtain a search warrant on a home he said belonged to heroin dealers. But officers found no heroin when they raided the place in January. While a gun battle broke out, a couple was killed and 5 officers were injured, including Goins.
Goins was injured in the shootout and later admitted to fabricating the affidavit. What followed was a deep and uncomfortable audit of his past work. The results were damning. Dozens of his cases were riddled with inconsistencies. Drugs that weren't properly logged, expensive reports that didn't match, and other instances of sloppy or dishonest police work. Despite these red flags, his cases had been approved and pushed forward by the department.
Ordered each and every one of them to turn off their body cameras in the immediate aftermath of the raid, a direct order they felt compelled to follow. Just as disturbing was the revelation that Clemente Reyna...
The fallout was massive. At least 27 people were exonerated after their convictions were linked to Goins. Dozens more cases were dropped. Goins, once considered a prolific narcotics officer, became a symbol of unchecked police corruption.
It was Jeffrey's mother, Tina Baldwin, who says she knew her son was innocent since day one. Jeffrey could be heard in court saying, "Hi, Mom," when he saw her this morning. Today, a judge told Jeffrey that his case was, quote, sad and, quote, "we're going to get you out as fast as we can."
During the trial, prosecutors argued that Goins' lies directly caused the deaths of Nicholas and Tuttle. His defense team admitted he falsified the warrant, but called the murder charges excessive. The jury disagreed. Goins was found guilty of 2 counts of felony murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison.
They also pointed to anonymous posts and comments online made by OG's former communications director expressing negative opinions about Goins. But prosecutors argued that public interest in this case is what generated the stories, and they said the online comments made little to no impact. Going forward, though, both sides said they would be open to what's called individual voir dire. That's where potential jurors would be questioned one by one away from the rest of the jury pool.
Outside the courtroom, Dennis's son said this.
First of all, thank you all. A greater message to Houston. This is where I was born. This is where my father and my stepmother lived their entire lives. And I think we've all experienced a very difficult time with this case. We've all certainly have been in a position where we question the men and women that are supposed to protect us. I think we can all find solace in knowing that we've found some closure and we've found some of the bad police officers and have set a precedence for moving forward for all law enforcement, that they will be held accountable if they are violating their citizens' civil rights and their, of course, ability to live peacefully. And I know my father would definitely have the message that he supports law enforcement because he knows 99% of them are definitely good. And
But if you think that's as bad as it gets, wait until you hear what happened in New York.
Guilty of sex offenses involving 4 underage boys. 34-year-old Christopher Teranova is accused of preying on teens on social media.
Between late 2019 and mid-2023, NYPD officer Christopher Teranova wasn't just abusing his badge, he was using it to prey on children.
Sex offenses involving 4 underage boys. 34-year-old Christopher Teranova is accused of preying on teens on social media, including one whom he met when the child reported a robbery. Prosecutors say Teranova traveled to Texas more than a dozen times to visit a boy.
It started online. Teranova would reach out to young boys through Instagram, Snapchat, and other social apps. He'd pose as a friendly cop, checking in on them after a robbery or trying to mentor them through NYPD youth programs. But that was just the start. He used that trust to begin sexually explicit conversations, send nude photos, and pressure them to send pictures in return.
The best way to text a girl for the first time.
One alarming instance began in March 2023. A young robbery victim seeking help encountered Teranova at the 121st Precinct on Staten Island. Teranova, abusing his access to NYPD databases, obtained the boy's cell phone number from the complaint. He then messaged the boy, feigning concern and subtly referencing his role as a police officer.
Cops NYPD says shouldn't have been hired, staying on administrative duty. Outside Manhattan Civil Court, the president of the Officers Union celebrating after a judge extended his request to delay the firings. Last week, the NYPD gave the rookies just 24 hours to resign.
His message read, "Hey, it's Chris Teranova, the cop you met at the 121 that day with Mom. I just wanted to reach out and see if you're doing okay after the incident. I hate seeing these things happen to good guys like yourself." He continued to manipulate, suggesting he was there if the boy ever wanted to talk, claiming he'd been through a lot himself. He then pressured the boy to add him on Snapchat and Instagram. Once connected on Snapchat, Teranova's true intentions emerged with explicit requests. Fortunately, the young man informed his mother, who promptly reported the matter. Another victim was just 12 years old. Teranova met him while on duty. He messaged him later that day and began the same pattern: grooming, manipulation, and sexual exploitation. It wasn't just online abuse. Teranova gave one teenage boy a ride home from a birthday party, only to take him to a secluded spot and force him into sexual acts. With another victim in Texas, he visited over 16 times and even bought a house in the boy's neighborhood. He told the boy, "You being with me and making love to me is more than a sign that everything happens for a reason." Christopher Teranova from Staten Island was found guilty by a federal jury in Brooklyn on all 6 counts of a superseding indictment. The charges included sexually exploiting, attempting to sexually exploit, and enticing and coercing 3 15-year-old boys and a 12-year-old boy. Christopher Teranova has been sentenced to 40 years in prison.
All right, Mr. Lane, then as to count 2, your guilty plea is accepted, and based on that plea, you're found guilty of aiding and abetting manslaughter in the second.
If Teranova used his badge to prey on children, Castillo used his badge to join the drug game and nearly got away with it.
Charge in June. 10 TV first told you when he was arrested back in February. Court documents say Castillo and another former officer conspired to steal and sell.
In February 2021, Columbus police officer John Castillo crossed the line from investigator to trafficker.
Yeah, I will in just a minute.
Assigned to the city's drug cartel unit, despite barely a year on the force, Castillo quickly got pulled into a circle of corruption. It started with a traffic stop. Castillo and another officer pulled over a man and his wife after they collected a bag of money from a business. During questioning, the man identified in court as Person A told Castillo about a separate drug handoff involving several kilograms of cocaine.
Places a can in a trash-filled lot, seemingly unaware his body camera is recording. Moments later, he retrieves the can, which contained a bag of white capsules. Prosecutors have now dropped charges against the man arrested for drugs.
Instead of following procedure, Castillo went rogue. He drove with Person A to a house on North Everett Avenue, used an access code, and hid 2 kilos of cocaine under the stairs. Then, in a staged search later that day, Castillo and the officer found the planted drugs, making the bust look legitimate.
New details emerging about guns found outside City Hall. Only 10 TV cameras were there as Columbus police found the weapons in nearby bushes after chasing 4 suspects, including 2 teens.
But it didn't stop there. According to court records, the officers also took 10 kilograms of cocaine from the house and kept it off the books. They stored the haul in a basement before passing it to someone else to distribute on the street.
Going meet up with my lawyer at the courthouse. Yeah, I think you got a shirt? What? I'm pretty sure I don't have my name. Copy at 911.
Castillo would later write in a memo that his assignment to the drug squad came because he spoke Spanish, not because of any long-standing experience. The unit operated with little supervision and more like a gang than a law enforcement team. According to Castillo, Koczkowski and Detective Marco Marino pressured new officers to stay quiet. Sometimes police officers have to lie for their partners, they told him.
Marco Marino made thousands to protect what he thought were drug shipments coming through Columbus and handing over kilos of stolen fentanyl. John Koczkowski aided in the theft of kilos of drugs to distribute back to the streets of Columbus. Joel Mefford is accused of stealing 20 kilos of cocaine from the Columbus Police property room and replacing them with fake kilos. John Castillo is charged with stealing 10 kilos of cocaine from the 12 he seized from a Columbus drug house. All 4 former Columbus police officers helped make.
When Castillo expressed doubts, Koczkowski allegedly showed up at his house with a bag of money. Castillo tried to return it. That's when the threats began. Koczkowski told him he would regret speaking out. If he said anything, his family would be in danger. Not long after, Koczkowski gave him a bedroom set as a gift. Castillo said he accepted it out of fear. Eventually, he requested a transfer to a separate narcotics squad, hoping to escape the pressure. But by then, he was already involved too deep.
Put your hands up right now. Put your hands up. Get out of the car. Stay here. I don't care. 13 uses. We got him stopped. Give us traffic.
My son is sick. My son's sick, okay? It's his birthday. I'm sorry.
Get out of the car.
Right there. Calm down.
Castillo was arrested in February 2024 and pleaded guilty in June. He admitted to possession with intent to distribute more than 5 kilos of cocaine and was sentenced to 46 months in prison. He's one of 4 former Columbus narcotics officers convicted in the same federal investigation.
Marco Marino made thousands to protect what he thought were drug shipments coming through Columbus and handing over kilos of stolen fentanyl. John Koczkowski aided in the theft of kilos of drugs to distribute back to the streets of Columbus. Joel Mefford is accused of stealing 20 kilos of cocaine from the Columbus Police property room and replacing them with fake kilos. John Castillo is charged with stealing 10 kilos of cocaine from the 12 he seized from a Columbus drug house. All 4 former Columbus police officers helped make.
His lawyers didn't defend his actions, writing, "He will not justify his actions as they are not justifiable." He recognizes that he's betrayed the trust he once had in himself and in the role he served. Yet again, a badge used as a cover for criminal enterprise, and yet again, a cop who thought he was untouchable until the charges caught up.
Charge in June. 10 TV first told you when he was arrested back in February. Court documents say Castillo and another former officer conspired to steal and sell.
If you think these stories need to be heard, don't just scroll away. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next entry. Every share helps keep the spotlight on the truth and the pressure on the system to do better. Because when the people meant to uphold the law start breaking it, silence is not an option.